Amen. Amen. After surviving that, I was in the trauma room at Hurley, and I remember Sergeant Younger coming to talk to me. And not another command staff ever called. Ever. I'm at home. I've been through the trauma unit. They cut my uniform off of me. I remember the nurse saying at one time, "Doctor, do we want to cut the uniform off?" And the doctor says, "Cut it off for risk paralysis." I never, ever got a call from anyone above Sergeant Younger. Anyone. If one of your troops, if you were in a business and an employee got hurt, I would think if you cared, you would make a phone call. You would make a phone call. I never got it. But the call that I did get came on August 2nd, the day that I came back to work. And it was from one of his captains. And his captain said to me, "Officer Williams, I just wanted to be the first to tell you that you've been transferred." Transferred. I said, well, Captain, where am I going? And why? This is for growth. I have to back up. He said it was for growth. I have to back up for a moment, because in the same venue that I brought $500,000 to that division, I spoke in that same venue not in favor of something that the chief had said. The chief went before this community and he shared some information, and he wasn't honest when he shared that information. And this was a community that I had a relationship with. I grew up here. I've serviced this community for many years, like these officers here. And he wasn't honest with them. And they looked at me. And I couldn't sit there, because I stand on the shoulders and the voice of those before me. All right. So when I made those comments, a reporter approached me outside of that venue and asked me if I had additional comments. I said no. He said, "Why not?" I said, "I'm not interested in a media circus." The very next day, he reports what I said in that venue. 3 days later, they haul me into internal affairs. And they interrogate me with 10 questions. And in one of the questions, at one point, the lieutenant said to me, "Is that factual?" I said, "It's very factual." He said, "What book did you read it out of?" I said, "I didn't read it out of a book. It's what we do every day." There's another portion to that story. A white officer, 8 days before I spoke to the media directly on Central's campus, and then came to the division, the liaison division, and told us. And his comments, his statement was, "I think I may have lost my job." We said, "Why?" He said, "Well, because I spoke to the media and I didn't have the chief's permission." We said, "What did you say?" He said, "Well, I kind of agreed with some of the things the chief said." "Oh, you'd probably be all right. You'd probably be all right." And sure enough, he spoke 8 days before I did. When I spoke 3 days later, I was hauled into internal affairs, questioned. He was never called. Never. And then when they decided that they needed to let me know, it was 4 months later, and it was, in terms of the punishment, it was 4 months later, and I had to call them. I spoke to the union president, Keith Spears, and I said, "Keith, can you find out for me what's going on with this situation?" He said, "When I email the chief, he responds immediately. So I'll email the chief, he'll get back with me today." I said, "Great." 10 days later, no response. I stopped down, I talked to Keith again. Keith said, "Well, let's try and reach him now." A few days later after that, the chief tells the captain to tell Keith to tell me that we're just going to drop it. It reeks of foul play. It reeks no paper trail. But there's a recording of the interview when they interrogated me, and there's no recording when they didn't go after the other guy. But he laid low. After I got hit by the drunk driver, and I come back to work, when I come back to work on August 2nd, he said, the captain says to me, I want to be the first to tell you, you've been transferred. I said, why? He said, it's about growth. I said, so where am I going? He said, well, we're thinking, and I asked you to remember. I'm going to test your memory for a second. He said, we're thinking patrol or community policing. He said growth. He didn't say punishment. He said growth. He meant punishment. That's exactly what it was. I'm there now. I'm being punished because I stand on the shoulders of those who have come before them. Punished. What these officers share with you is real. Every situation is real. And if they treat us like this, how do you think they're treating these citizens? I want to thank you for listening. But more importantly, I would hope that with the information that's been shared with you this evening, that you would do more than think about what's happening in that police department, that you would act, and that you would feel a responsibility to make something happen, to bring about a chief with a plan that can help your constituents and you and us. A moment ago, I shared with you something that Dr. King said. He said, we must learn to live together as friends, or we will perish as fools. Thank you.